How do I work with a designer? Well, every designer, every director is different, and every project that you approach brings with it different qualities, and it may be that you work differently with different people. Let me give you an example of working with Simon Kenny, who's our designer on Merchant of Venice. The way that that's been working is I read the play probably, well, certainly several times, and started to formulate ideas about the world of the Merchant of Venice and how we might present this to the audience that are coming to see the show. And so our first meetings, I was probably, talking an awful lot about my initial ideas, and from those initial conversations, Simon, with his brilliantly visual, sharp eye and mind, we've been working together to sort of try and create from those ideas something sort of more tangible, and to create into a clear design for the actual production. So it starts with a lot of chat, and then what's so brilliant about having designers on board is that they're able to take your ideas and make them into something a little bit more substantial and create the visual world from those ideas. Well, what I'd say about the design for this show is obviously I wouldn't want to say too much in detail in case people who see this are going to come and see the show. I wouldn't want to spoil anything. But I think that the things which we've found to be important in the way that we present this story are to give a real sense of the two worlds, that of Venice and that of Belmont. And from the research we've done about Venice at the time, it seems very clear that this was a real hub, international kind of hub for commerce, a very cosmopolitan place, but not without its kind of dark side as well. Let's not forget, of course, that although Jews were allowed to live in Venice, which was unlike many European countries at the time, they lived in ghettos. They were segregated, and although they were allowed to mix with Venetians in the town during the day, at night time they were locked up. And we're very aware of that in coming to design, and we really want to bring out something of the isolation and sort of segregation in the town at the time. Likewise, with Belmont, it's trying to come up with a clear way of showing that this is a very different type of place to Venice, and hopefully that's going to be clear for the audiences coming to see it. Mood boards are kind of exactly what it says on the tin, I suppose. It's a series of pictures, images, which give a sense of a feel to the world that you're creating. Now, I think especially with worlds that you are making from scratch for a production, sometimes you may be flicking through a magazine or reading the paper or think of a work of art that you really like, and you think, oh, the way that person's holding themselves, or the sort of colours used in that picture remind me of the sort of, have some resonance with the kind of world that we're creating. You can't sometimes put your finger on it, but there's something in that picture, something in that visual that you really like. And having a collage, as it were, of lots of different images can really help, first of all, most importantly, the actors to connect with the world that you're trying to create. As I was saying before, you can do a lot of chatting about your ideas for a show, but you've got to really try and help everybody on the team, everybody involved with the process, to connect with that. And a mood board can be a really useful way to enable people to connect with those sort of ideas. And they can be pictures of anything, but if they have a sort of sense or a sort of feeling about the world that you're trying to create, they can be quite useful to keep them on. And of course, if you're doing a production set in a particular period, then the mood board's going to be may well be very sort of geared towards that particular period or that particular style. It just depends what it is you're doing. With costume design can really help us understand a little bit more about the characters that we're watching interacting in the scenes, kind of better than if they were just wearing their own costume, their own clothes, should I say. I mean, to give an example, I saw a show the other night, a fantastic production of Duchess of Malfi, which is here at the Playhouse, and the character of the Duchess, played by Gemma Arterton, wears these fantastically sumptuous, gorgeous dresses, literally shimmering with gold. And first of all, who you should be looking at, and this is a very important person. I mean, this is a very, obvious stuff I'm saying, but literally little help like that along the way can really help us guide our eye as an audience member, and to help us sort of understand levels of status as well with characters. Clearly, a character like that wearing such sumptuous clothes is probably important, and we might be inclined to look at her more than other people in scenes, which may be important. I think that another thing to think about, just in terms of like working on the Globe stage, of course, is the fact that we have no fancy lighting effects. Now, in a modern theatre, where the lights go out in the auditorium and then come up on the stage, we have a natural focus because the lights are coming up and the lights are down on us in the audience, and we know where we should be looking. If we want to highlight a character in a particular scene, we can take the lights down on the stage and give a spotlight, say, to a character. You can't do that on the Globe, so costume does become really, really important, especially in those scenes which are populated, with lots of people. It's important to know, kind of who the important people are in this world, which is often quite complicated. Well, I mean, you start gathering. I mean, again, I can only speak for myself really in the work that I've done with designers so far, but it's a really good thing to start gathering. I find it's a very useful thing to start gathering images from a very early stage, actually. Even after the first time, maybe I read the play once and start forming ideas about the production. I'll start, trawling through the internet looking for particular images and things which make me think about particular scenes or characters or the world in general. And together with the designer, you may start building a sort of file of ideas and pictures. And then when it comes to rehearsal, I like to put images up on the wall from the beginning, really, to help the actors to understand where you've come from in terms of coming to the design, so that you're not just giving them a design. Here you are, this is what you're wearing, this is the world. It gives you some sort of idea of the journey you've gone on prior to the first ever rehearsal, so they can sort of see where you've come to. And again, visual references can be really useful to make connections with worlds and characters.